want to welcome you to the Create Unicorns with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs room here at the Infiom NFTs and DeFi Salon. My name is Mariana Danilovic. I'm the founder and managing director of Infiom, and we focus on helping companies boost through our Infiom Boost program, launch ventures through it, and then help companies launch NFTs projects through our NFTs Boost program. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Frank.
Hey, my name is Frank. I'm a long-time crypto, NFT, DeFi, and metaverse geek with a focus on bringing creativity, innovation, and enthusiasm to the space, hopefully, to motivate other people as well. So that's me.
Thank you, Frank. And today we want to talk about some of the articles in our newsletter that we send out every Sunday. Mainly, one of the top articles in the newsletter this week was about the fact that DAOs may be replacing venture capital investment. Um, have you seen any funding done by DAOs at this point, Frank? And do you have any thoughts on?
I did actually see one. Let me see if I can pull it up. I saw one. Was it yesterday? Um, it was actually yes. So the obviously the one that I saw was actually a movie. I think that was the one that I was showing. It was a Russell Crowe movie, which I believe was being funded by a DAO. I also saw um, another one, which is called the Infinite Machine movie, and that is also will sit at the producers table versus via a DAO, and that's called the Infinite Machine Collection. So there's a few things going on, and I think it's the movie industry which I'm seeing um, that are actually starting to fund more films with DAO structures.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. There's one called Hollywood the DAO that hasn't really launched yet. Their white paper is not ready, but they announced it about a week ago to fund films and other television projects, for example. There was a DAO that was recently formed to try to buy the US Constitution. And there was a DAO that was recently formed to try and buy certified golf course. So, in the past, these kinds of projects would be purchased with different types of funding, and the funding would be somewhere between seed capital, venture capital for early stage projects which are technologic based on a new technology, so that you can see that sort of hyper growth as you invest the capital. It's also the riskiest kind of capital, and so the hyper growth allows for that sort of risk to be mitigated by investing in a portfolio of projects. And for many years the portfolio projects would end up netting 1 out of 10 would be a successful exit. When I first started in this business, I was part of the management team of Sony Pictures Venture Fund, which was investing in media properties around the globe. And I was covering the comic book industry. So we looked at Marvel Comics and Malibu Comics and all, DC Comics. Big Entertainment was a company that had its own line of comics based on the writings of the sci-fi greats. But that was really an interesting time to kind of invest from, a media fund, digital media fund, into potential opportunities in the media and entertainment space. But I would say, with crowdfunding, instead of having venture capital available to these projects, now we're seeing, crowdfunded projects through equity crowdfunding and also through incentive type crowdfunding like a Kickstarter, right? So DAOs now, as you pointed out, in Hollywood and in media, are trying to do the funding of one project or many project or individual projects. So they're not just replacing venture capital industry, they're kind of replacing all capital that's out there.
I mean, because I was just looking into it yesterday. When it comes to um things like real estate, is it possible for that type of structure to work in purchasing real estate?
That's what they're attempting with the golf course. It's a real estate purchase. It's a certified golf course, so it's real estate plus. It has obviously approvals for amenities, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, that's exactly what the article was about. I've seen a lot of real estate deals in different jurisdictions. We had somebody talk about a bunch of purchases by the governmental agencies in Ibiza yesterday. We had deals from Belize, where they're working with the government on sort of creating tokenization of real estate property. So yeah, and then of course, having advised Super World, metaverse is full of real estate that one can purchase like you did, Frank, in Super World and other options. So yeah, that is being chased by these new mechanism of funding projects and getting projects off the ground. Andrew, you had a question?
Oh, hey, how's it going, Mariana? I had spoke with you in email the other day. My buddy Joe told me got what you guys were had going on, and I actually run a DAO, so he just thought I'd want to be a part of the conversation, so he told me to raise my hand when I got here.
Yay. So what is that? What kind of a DAO are you running?
So we run a really cool one, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm probably biased to it, but so we're called Soul Lads, and we have several utilities. But how our DAO works is we provide fractionalized ownership of blue chip NFTs, just because your average retail investor might not have the 30, 50, 100 Solana, whatever it is, to ape into these these blue chip NFTs. And we just know that if you paid attention to 2021, blue chips provide the most stability, and they also have equal if not greater upside than a lot of the NFTs people are gambling on right now. So we provide that fractionalized ownership. And once our collection is fully built, right now it's being everything's being spearheaded by me and my partner Aaron. But and Aaron actually just joined the room, ironically enough. But everything's being spearheaded by us. But after we build the collection, the DAO will be able to vote on the direction of the collection, whether we flip some of these NFTs, and then 75% of profits go back to holders. 25% goes towards growing the collection. So yeah, that's how our DAO is operating, and we have some big things with like crypto education that the DAO is voting on. We're putting together. We do like monthly symposiums online where we bring in big speakers, and we're about our first DAO vote will actually be. Do we want to set aside some funds from the profit to have a live in person conference for our holders? So yeah, that's the basis. I'm an open book. If anybody has any questions about DAOs or what we're doing, I appreciate being able to join the conversation.
Well, I love what you guys are doing. It's very, very interesting. How do you assess sort of the blue chip, blue chip NFT versus a non-blue chip NFT?
Great question. It's generally about floor and the team and the roadmap. And right now there's a general consensus on what several of the blue chips are on the Solana chain, at least. And we consider the Generate Academy to to be a blue chip, and that's what those are two NFTs we actually hold in our vault. Maybe I know Aaron's on stage now. Maybe he'll have some separate insights to how he assesses blue chips.
Hi,
Yeah. So,
Aaron.
hi, nice to meet you. So one of the things that we've done is we've gotten those, like Andrew said, we've gotten those vegan apes. If you're familiar with the Solana space, they are kind of the biggest NFT project on the chain right now. They pushed over 1 million in Solana and secondary sales. It's quite a bit, several million US dollars. Um, and what actually we were able to do is by having these blue chips, well, by that blue chip specifically, is we were able to gain access into their DAO, and it kind of gives us a lot of insight, a lot of information just being in those sort of communities. These communities, they're like alpha communities that kind of like, they do a lot of research together on, up and coming projects. I'm sure you're familiar with, how like crypto networking work, those kind of groups would work. It's a similar sort of thing, where these communities are all like, helping each other out, trying to find the most promising projects, putting you on new things, this and that. And we were really able to get a lot of promising information by being able to join a DAO like the Deegan Apes.
So the name of the DAO is the Deegan Apes.
Their DAO is called the Deegan DAO, so like DEGENDAOO,
Okay.
and their project is called the Degenerate Ape Academy. You can find them on Solana.
And so why Solana? Can you tell us, why not things that are on Ethereum, knowing that that's where the, most people are at the moment?
Yeah, so I mean, the majority of people, I guess, in the NFT space would be on Ethereum, and I guess the issue with that is that the fees can get quite high with minting things, or just really any sort of transaction on Ethereum is it's pretty expensive, and really for that reason, and it's kind of slow too compared to Solana at least, and that's one of the reasons why we chose to be on a chain like Solana, where the speed of transactions is a lot better, and also the gas fees are like super low. I think a transaction is like 0.00065 Solana, which is like fraction of cents.
Yeah, that's awesome. You asked that question because I was late getting here because I was on a Zoom with a Ethereum whale that's actually coming over to Solana, and ironically enough, we were a project that caught his eye, and that's why he's exiting out of all his, not all, I won't say all because I know he was keeping a couple, but probably I'd say 90% of what he's holding on Ethereum, he's bringing to Solana. Because it's very fledgling. The Solana ecosystem isn't even a year old at this point, right? And that's why, like, when people start panicking, it's like, hey, give it time to develop. This is still new. It just happened to shoot into the top five. But I think you're really going to see more and more Ethereum whales, cycle into Solana, and people like us that are early adopters of this new chain that has a lot of great stuff set up for it to be, good for NFTs. I think we're gonna, be big benefactors in 2020.
Carlos, you want to quickly introduce yourself, and I have more questions for you guys.
Hi, my name is Carlos Rodriguez. I am an executive conference producer in multiple industries. As you can hear, I am a father first. My baby's screaming in the background, so I'll be in and out. But just want to jump in real quick and say hello to everybody, and hopefully everybody's starting off 2022 selling a lot of NFTs and flipping them or holding.
All right, so let's look at this DAO that you guys formed. In terms of funding the DAO, how are you funding it?
So we had our mint. We actually stealth launched. We kind of just opened up within our network and got out word of mouth about over about 8 to 10 days, and we launched on New Year's Eve. We minted out, and then we're using funds from mint to fund the whole operation. It's been an awesome process. Just kind of everything coming together. And, we started with $0, and then now we got a vault and we got marketing funds. So, yeah, the community, the initial mentors are the ones that fund it. And, that's why they own the shares.
This is exactly what this is talking about, this article. So I love that you guys came. So in terms of minting, how many NFTs did you drop in that first mint, and how many did the actual management hold?
Great questions. I love it. So, our first mint for Soul Lads, it is we launched with only 700. We're going for the exclusivity factor, scarcity factor, because, like I said, a big part of our thing is crypto education too, and that's kind of like your ticket to our crypto education. But we will expand with the sister project in the very near future. Our thoughts are we don't want to be a cash grab, right? We promised the developer, or we promised the community we were going to deliver on certain things, and we're going to deliver on all those things before we launch anything else. But I am pretty confident once the community hears about what our sister project will be, it's gonna send us through the roof. Um, but we started with 700, and then I personally kept 20, and I believe Aaron, you kept 10, right? And I minted, full disclosure, I minted 20 personally too. But I know Aaron, I think Aaron kept 10, and I'll let you speak for yourself.
Yeah, I kept 10 myself. I minted them like right away off the bat.
So how can anyone, in this clubhouse today in this room join your DAO?
So right now, the only way to join our DAO would be to basically purchase one of our NFTs on the secondary market, and we're actually listed on the best secondary for Solana. It's called Magic Eden, and that's you just type in Soul Ads, and you can find our NFTs, and you'd be able to purchase basically, uh, a ticket into our DAO.
And so these are NFTs one has to purchase on a marketplace on Solana called Magic Eden. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. It's all Solana based, so you'd have to set up like a Phantom wallet or like a Soulflare wallet, and then you would be on the website Magic Eden, similar to like OpenSea but for Solana, and you'd find our project there and be able to buy one of our NFTs.
And have you guys looked at the number of buyers, collectors, sellers on OpenSea versus Magic Eden, for example?
It's not something that I looked at like very closely. I have to be honest. I have been in Solana for the last few months now, so I saw the the sort of hype that's been going on around these projects, and I had the technical experience to start my own project. And me and Andrew linked up, and we basically just went off of that. And we had a lot of interested buyers, obviously, off of our mint, and seems that we're on the right track with what we're doing too.
No, absolutely. I love it. Will you be issuing a token as well in your DAO? And does it
Man,
matter?
that's a great question, and I know we got a few of our community holders probably in the room, or at least one or two. We will eventually, and it is long-term plans that Aaron and I have talked about. But as I said, like one of the and that's why I love DAOs, right? Because it's like basically a decentralized business, and like I have a business background, and one of the biggest, I'd say, weaknesses I see amongst like most NFT projects is that they have great developers, but they're just not good business people, and they make what like I see to be a lot of mistakes. And so we're approaching this like it is a business, and these are shareholders that we have to deliver for. So before we move to one phase, we're crushing the first phase, but the token is gonna happen, but that's about phase 3 or 4, and it's probably at the end of this year or early next year to be totally real. We've got 2 or 3 things to do to develop that, and have our own metaverse maybe one day, or maybe building somebody else's. We're still figuring that out, but it is a direction. Right now we're just focusing on delivering phase 1, which is generating enthusiasm around our project, which I feel we've been doing a good job. We minted at point 0.5 Solana. The Ethereum person I was talking about just came in today and swept our floor, and we've been steadily chipping up the past few days, but we're at a 4 floor right now, 4 Solana floor. So I feel really good about that. Delivering to investors on the timeline we expected our floor to progress, and then also building our vault and getting steals on these blue chips. Right, we're our two apes we got it like a 30 soul floor, and I think they're up to 40. So that's looking really good, and we formed some great partnerships. I'm huge on play to earn gaming, so we got some of those in our vault through partnerships, and other projects have teamed up with us. So right now it's about building the vault, making a little bit of ripple out there, because I feel we're the only ones doing what we're doing. And then we're going to progress to those things like our sister projects, and maybe our metaverse, and a token that's going to have a lot of utility to it too. So I love the question. Thank you.
I like what you guys are doing. You're ahead of this article, so that's great news. Jeanette, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Jeanette Patty, and I am a professional text-plainer, fresh back from the weirdest CES in history, if you haven't been to that show. And I'm very excited to be here. Thanks, Mariana.
So I worked on quite a few models, in the past on kind of launching a venture fund using new business models and new opportunities. And one of the models that I was hoping would work, back when I was running Bid Angels, was the one where you can actually tokenize a venture fund. So instead of, today the way you raise a venture fund is you go to the limiteds, which are usually pension funds and large corporate, sometimes corporate funds, but mostly government run funds, that invest in different management teams. So they will invest in venture fund, they will invest in private equity, they will invest in hedge funds, hoping that their underlying pension portfolio would show some good return, some with more risk averse kind of investments, and some with very risky like a venture investment. So that's a standard model. And being a limited in a fund, if you are not one of those largest pension funds on the planet here in the US, and you get into a Kleiner fund or into A16Z, or in their Andreessen Horowitz is their sister venture fund, that's very hard to do. You have to be like at the right place at the right time at the beginning of the movement to be one of the limiteds. And as a limited, you're letting these fund managers tell you what they have a strategy as to what they invest in, and then you get some sort of a return once they liquidate the fund. So when I started in the business, when we were managing the Sony Pictures venture fund, you could see some returns on a fund you're managing in 7 to 10 years, like everything would be exited by then. And then it became 10 to 14 years. The venture capital business became longer and longer and longer wait time to show any return on your investment. So we were tokenizing a fund with one of the largest VC firms out of France at that time, trying to figure out how you as an investor can invest in that fund and then trade your shares or your tokens, if you'd like, to someone else if you don't want to wait for the full vesting of it. And so with the DAO, that is just like many, many, many times faster, because what you guys are saying here is, hey, we launched this, it's on Solana, it went 8x in terms of the value of each NFT. We now have basically we're building a vault, we can now buy apes, and those apes will probably increase in value. And so we're basically funded this thing, and whoever owns an NFT in it can go in and out of it. They can sell their NFT if you'd like on an open marketplace, Magic Eden, and they can see a return, tomorrow if they need a return, or 10 months from now, or a year from now. So you created a very liquid market. Does that make any sense for what you guys are trying to do?
Absolutely. No, you summed it up perfectly, and that's really it. It's the decentralized ownership to where you're going to get the benefits, the fractionalized ownership of it to where, yeah, you're going to get your essentially dividends that they'll be able to claim every month from profits. Because like I said, I'm big on play to earn, so we have like play to earn in our vault too, which I think is kind of pretty huge because we can have people play those games, and then those tokens just go to our vault and they're distributed like anything else. And I truly think that like we're what we're talking about is the future of how corporations are going to be owned, or even artwork is the way that I try to explain how we're doing it. Is like, let's imagine that the Mona Lisa went up for sale, right? It's going to be like 900 million, and you and I probably can't afford that, but me, you, and 10,000 of our friends, we could start a DAO by fractionalized ownership of the Mona Lisa, and then as Mariana was saying, as that goes up in price, our shares in it are going up in price, and we get those benefits. But like, even take it a step further, let's say that $900 million Mona Lisa 6 months later is worth 1.2 billion. Well, we can sell it for the 1.2, and then if a month later it's back down to 900 million, we can buy it back. Well, then we use that profit to buy a Picasso, and then we rinse, wash, and repeat with the Picasso. Use that profit to buy a Warhol, and the collection grows, and then dividends or profits are distributed quarterly, and your fractionalized ownership of this vault goes up. Just how Mariano was saying, and like I truly believe this is how stuff will be bought in the future. We saw a DAO come together to buy the Constitution, and I don't think they succeeded. But man, that's pretty cool to me, and like, it just opens your eyes to what's really possible with all this.
That's awesome. So there's actually, a way to go about it, like you guys are going about it using liquidity step by step by step, okay, to create value, which I really love. I mean, it's different, but I like the creativity of it. But then there's a DAO, from our article, that basically has done venture capital like investments. It's called Global Coin Research. They cumulative, they, bunch of people, they created this DAO. And as part of the you know as part of the being a member, you can be in either part of the governance council if you'd like, or you might be going to private spaces, invite only Discord chats, Telegram groups, like all these things that you guys set up, right? In-person events, all the stuff that you're working on, which is great. But collectively, this DAO has invested in more than 30 deals, deploying over 25 million into projects that are, blockchain interoperability protocol, Aurora, Web3 management platform, Coinvise, and in basically, they really are functioning as a true venture capital, investment fund. Um, do you ever see going in that direction, or do you see yourself developing something new that's not really similar to VC, but it's more of an access to the NFTs space for everyone who doesn't have time to do the research that you guys are doing?
So I'll let Aaron kind of piggyback on my initial thoughts because he probably has some different perspectives, but probably down the same path. I I foresee the latter of we're something altogether different to where we want to give people access to this fractionalized ownership that and the opportunity to flip and make some money. Obviously just holding ours because they might not have the time to do the research that we do. I'm not even accepting anybody new currently, but I have a private group that I charge people for access to, and before anybody comes on, before they pay me, I show them all the ways I make money passively with crypto every month. Like between gaming, yield farming, all that stuff, and they realize by the end of that they need my help, and that's kind of why I started the group, or that group, and that's kind of what this has evolved into, to where I research crypto for at least 2 hours a day outside of getting a networking like this. And your average person, they just don't have the time to do it. They don't have the want to do it. I'm an enthusiast. I enjoy the technology, so I put the time in. So I foresee us being like, your opportunity to fractionalized ownership of the Mona Lisa, or your opportunity of fractionalized ownership of what ends up becoming the crypto punks of the Solana chain. But even taking it a step further to where we're gonna have, just to drop some hints, we're gonna have soul ladies one day, and you'd be able to breed them and have babies and run around in the metaverse and earn a lad token, which will have a utility too. But like I said, that's down the line. Right now, we're focused on delivering step one, which is building the vault. And obviously this first quarter showing some returns for investors. And I'll pass to Aaron because I think he has some great insights on this too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the great thing about NFTs and this whole space in general is that you're able to build these like sort of like these huge, not really huge, but these little communities that we've been able to accomplish so much with just a small amount of people. And I think that really shows the power of what a group of people collectively can do together. And I think that's kind of what this whole project and what NFTs are really about, is that when you go and join these other projects and you go hang out in their communities, they're all like super tight knit, and they're all with each other, and they're all about getting the job done. And that's when you can get a group of people like that, or hundreds of people together with the same goal in mind, you can accomplish a lot of things. And that's really what we're trying to do with Soul Ads, is bring together a group of people, and we're trying to do a lot. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be like a VC fund, but we are investing in promising blue chips. We plan to sell off some of these blue chips for a profit and giving those returns to our holders, and then we still have percentage going back to the vault to reinvest some more. So I mean, I guess in a sense it sort of acts like a VC sort of fund, um, but we're doing a lot more than that too. That we're doing the whole crypto training thing, and that's something unique in itself. There really is no project out there doing something like that. And I think that's another thing about NFTs is that you're not really set on one thing. You can do a lot of things. You can continue to build utility. You can continue to add things. You know, and especially with a DAO, you're letting the community sort of decide which direction things are going. And I think that's really the beauty of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, it's
I,
really fascinating. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention, sorry to segue, but does anybody know who bought the Constitution? I think it's hilarious, and I think it was a very strategic move.
Who?
Kenneth Griffin, everybody's favorite CEO, or I'm sorry, president of the hedge fund that basically has been battling the shorts from AMC and GME from the beginning. So he basically outbid them at the last second for 43 million to put his foot on it.
And what would he do with it?
It's just as we all know, NFTs are flex pieces. When you buy an NFT for 466,000, like Eminem just did for a Bored Ape, I think it was last week. Those are flex pieces. The reason why he bought that was because ultimately he wants to say that he owns it, and that ultimately an NFT company can own it, or a DAO cannot own it. A VC will always be able to have more money. He came in at the last second and bought it outright from under them, knew about all the publicity, and honestly, I'm surprised he hasn't got the backlash of hell.
What's so interesting is that NFTs are sort of, as you said, a flex kind of an item, but also they're at the lower end of the market. So one of our articles, the Sunday talks about forget T-shirts and tote bags. NFTs are the hot new campaign swag. So all the politicians and PACs are now beginning to embrace the crypto boom and digital collectibles, and they're basically doing sale of NFTs for political campaigns.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, I think that makes so much sense. It really does. I mean, it really is a twofer for them because not only are they giving something of value to their voters, but they're also saying in no uncertain terms, I'm with it. I'm on top of what's happening and what's now, and there's a lot of value for that in politicians in certain jurisdictions.
yeah, and you have an example here that's really interesting. Sharina Karani, who's the Democrat who is looking to flip a Republican House district in California, raised 6,672 hours late last year by selling 21 NFTs containing her crypto policy agenda. So, will you be reading that agenda? I hope if you're spending money on her NFT, that's I'm hoping that the voters will get a little more educated by participating in these kinds of exercises.
I think the most exciting new legislation, once again, not to segue, but I just like to talk about things that I think are relevant to all industries. So there is new legislation in the U.S. government that's being brought up about ultimately banning bots. And this is the first time it's being discussed. And I think that it's going to be a huge issue going forward. So let's just be aware of that. So, we know that all of these digital platforms are using different bots, as well as, anybody and everybody in the industry, from the Facebooks to the Googles. So let's go ahead and it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the US and ultimately in other countries once this starts to go through this year.
How do you get rid of bots? I mean, that's even more challenging than dealing with some of these other innovations, right?
It will be fines. If you start to find these companies and you find people, trust me, it'll go away really quickly. There's ways to get rid of it.
I think, yeah, the technology to trace bots is out there, just like the technology to trace ads. It's just that you haven't had any opportunity to do anything about it up until now. And I think people are pretty fed up with bots. I just think we need to be aware of this legislation just as we are aware of the anti advertising movements. Is every time you come up with a smarter way to deal with an ad blocker, somebody else comes up with a smarter way to block the ad blocker. And so I think that it's likely that we'll see that same kind of brinksmanship in this space.
So, in terms of existing brands and existing companies jumping into the space, we have another article about GameStop, which is everyone's favorite meme stock, right, of last year. They're jumping into the NFT and crypto space, and they're trying to figure out their crypto strategy. And, I'm not kidding. Yesterday, I had a strategy session with one of the companies I've been advising that's still in the stealth mode, and they're having a meeting with them on Friday. So, these guys are, seriously trying to enter the space. Is this something that every brand in the world is going to be considering next year or this year?
Yes, every brand that sells to anybody under the age of 40, yes. I mean, I think it's not that older people aren't interested, they're less interested, but I think that it is a move that's considered necessary to be seen as with it from a marketing standpoint. And we've already seen some very clever iterations of this in the past with the non fungible tacos at Taco Bell. But I think what'll be really interesting is we're seeing brands that are using NFTs to connect to social good. And that seems to be the 1-2 punch. So, for example, with the non fungible tacos, it was a cute idea. It got them tons of press. But then the money that they raised from that, they used for their uh, college fund for people who were working at Taco Bell to help them, get scholarships. So I think that is the way that we're going to see those two things come together.
I think the especially the gaming world. I think what's happened is there's a huge esports community and a huge community on different platforms that are literally sitting there, literally waiting for something like this. So a lot of these communities in the gaming community, anyway, um, are going to be customers of you know of many different opportunities that come out that is suitable for them. So that things like GameStop, when they come in, if they were to put out an NFT for gamers and esports, people who follow esports, they're going to, literally corner the market.
I also want to bring up real quickly, if you guys weren't aware, the first lawsuit went through, and it was a 27-year-old and actually won against Citadel and for the AMC GMC, stopping with Robinhood. So there is laws currently. They just lost their first case. So this is going to get really interesting. Another thing I want to point out is this GameStop NFT has been in the works for years now. They actually had like a hidden page online, that they had a countdown timer. Ironically, I thought that project was going to die. I thought it had completely disappeared. So it's great to hear it's back on the map.
And apparently, they're planning to launch something like OpenSea competitor for, like an NFTs marketplace. Obviously, they have to be in the play to earn space that, Andrew and Aaron are building in that. I mean, how can they not, right?
Yeah, and honestly, they have one of the most brilliant, when Cohen took over. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Cohen. He came from Chewy, and he basically bought his way into the board. He's extremely tech savvy. So his whole role there was really to kind of figure out ways, ultimately to generate new revenue, for this company. And if you know anything about Chewy, they're probably the best at doing um, tech products for bringing food products to your house for um, different animals, anything ranging from dogs to other cats and stuff like that. So, long story short, they're going to be very competitive. They have a brilliant young people on the board now. that have a lot of money and a lot of influence in the industry. So I definitely keep on looking out for that. I think that this saga definitely has not ended, especially hearing this now that they've reopened the NFT and then the case going through and actually winning.
And what's really interesting is, GameStop became a household name despite the fact, that digital downloads killed its business. The sort of the in-person arcade business was really, especially, during a pandemic, right? But because of the support that it had in its community, it became this phenomenon of meme stock, and now it has enough to actually go out there and start to compete in this new market. I want to go back to Andrew and Aaron because you're basically experts in building communities. That's kind of what you've done so far. When you look at what's happened last year with NFTs and these NFT shows in New York and I think the ones in Miami last year, it almost seemed to me like there were very few people there that Jeanette and I may recognize from CES or from digital Hollywoods of the world. There are all these digital media conferences. And yet, these were, I would say, some of the most interesting gatherings that happened last year. Why do you think that's happening with these NFT launches more so than, with these sort of innovative technology conferences that are also, fun to attend, but they're not as exciting?
Well, I think the NFT community and kind of there's communities within the community, right? And kind of how Aaron was talking about before, when you get involved in these communities, it's really just like about being part of something that's bigger than yourself. And I think that's probably what carries over to the conferences. To be honest, I haven't been to a live conference yet. We're looking at attending a few ourselves, but that would be my answer for it. I'm sure Aaron has some great input too, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really more. It comes from what I've experienced. Yeah, I haven't really gone to like a in-person conference either. I'm new to like starting projects. This is only like my second project, but from what I've gathered hanging out in other communities, I'm part of a lot of other NFT projects. Like I've bought into a lot of projects and I've just sort of gotten to know people there. It's more about like getting to know people. Like people are actually there to like they're there to make money, but they're also there to like socialize. And it's sort of like this. I grew up in the era of like video. I'm young. I'm only 27. I grew up playing video games. As a kid, and it was fun for me. Being able to talk to people online. And sort of like that was like sort of me hanging out with people. You know, and that's sort of like the experience that I'm having again with like NFTs is like it sort of brings back those kind of memories and those sort of vibes for me. And I think that's sort of what it's really more about is like these in NFTs at least, these communities they're more, they're more like niche and they're tight knit and it's hard to explain honestly. Like you really should get involved with one of them. Soul Ads is a great one to start with, of course. I think but if you want to, talk to people, you want to learn about, different ways you can make money passively, um, and also enjoy, artwork. NFTs are, a great way to do that.
I couldn't agree more about the community aspect that you're talking about. I spend countless hours in Twitter spaces now, just listening to groups talk. And ironically, one of the groups that I'm in, and I'm not pumping them, I just honestly think that it's one of the best groups. It's called Vivi, VEVE. They own like the Disney patents for the IP, as well as anybody and everybody from Coca Cola, ranging to Marvel. So, just a heads up. I think that's another great community just to kind of sit and listen to their group sessions, and you can hear how these people honestly dedicate their lives to this. Um, and I've said this before on these calls, I work with, huge PR teams and, so I'm telling you, even 100-person marketing team can't keep up with these guys because there's over 100 people in these rooms and they're all pumping it at the same time and talking about it and bringing relevance on Twitter, 24 hours a day. So, I wish all of these DAOs the best of luck. Andrew, Aaron, definitely keep on doing what you're doing. I know that that's hard to do. I just listen in, but man, you guys are definitely troopers, full-time workers there. This ain't no part-time game.
You're
I think
absolutely right there.
too. If you look at CES, for example, you're competing with companies that literally spend millions of dollars on a booth and a presence and a team of 50 people or 100 people that they bring. And it's a huge PR engine. And I think it's difficult sometimes for, say, an NFT company to be heard over the noise. But I also think it's a different audience altogether. The Consumer Electronics Show is really about selling to huge companies. And I think Digital Hollywood is more about making Hollywood deals. And I think it makes sense for this group that is so self-oriented to have their own conventions and their own organizations to build their own community.
Yes and no, right? Because all of those companies at CES next year have to do NFTs, right? But there was really no NFTs presence to speak of at CES. There was like one session with Paris Hilton. I mean, that was an interesting NFT project that happened. And not to take anything away from the project, she did a great job doing it early on. But that was like an early on project that many other things followed afterwards in the NFT space. They were much bigger and much broader and much more interesting in terms of community generation. And it seems to me like that what I'm noticing between these conferences that have been around for decades in innovation, um, which are all great conferences. We're talking about top tier conferences here. We're not talking about some sort of a startup. These are 25 years plus, so they know what they're doing. They seem not to be inside these new developments. And yet, these NFT conferences, which I hope Andrew and Aaron will build one next year and will participate from Infiom. I'm counting on you guys. I think what is being built on the NFT side, because of the value of the community, it's a completely different commitment on all the conference goers to the conference and to what they're trying to accomplish there than you're seeing in these traditional innovation environments. There's a lot more attachment to each project because you own, part of their economy in essence.
I think you're right. And I think one of the most interesting announcements I saw at CES was Samsung putting that NFT gateway on their televisions. That was an interesting move that nobody else seems to have mirrored. And I'm really curious to see how that's all going to shape up.
And can I access it on my smart TV because I do have one? No one can
Honestly,
answer that.
I haven't done any research on it yet. I mean, I have a hard enough time getting my television system to play 5.1, so I'm guessing it'll be a challenge no matter how you approach it.
But Samsung not being in the clubhouse is in launching something like that is actually going against Samsung because Andrew and Aaron launched their project. They're on the clubhouse. They are putting long hours and doing the work and doing the Discord and all that kind of stuff, being on Solana. They're tracking trends, they're being plugged into it. Bitcoin is king, and Terry, who are usually in our clubhouse rooms, they've launched a project which sold out already. Yesterday, I found out their NFT project launched and sold out immediately. So they're not here today. They're working on it. These guys are basically setting the trends. And if you're Samsung and you launch an NFT marketplace and you didn't do what Adidas did, which is they came to the clubhouse and they plugged in, you're sort of on the outside looking in, I think.
I agree. I think that a lot of these companies still haven't basically put their money into their marketing dollars yet, but I definitely, speaking to different executives, I can tell you that trend is drastically changing. Once again, they are hiring for positions at a lot of different companies right now, specifically for NFT strategists. So you can look out as a new job for 2022. It'll definitely be popping up a lot. 2022, 2023, as CFOs are forced to make the choice to ultimately, once again, go digital.
Yeah, they did partner with Nifty Gateway, and I think those kind of partnerships and acquisitions are going to be exploding this year. I think companies are going to find that they can't ramp up quick enough, so they're just going to buy what they need.
Agree.
I think that a lot more brands are going to be buying more virtual real estate, and then also launching NFT marketplaces uh, through communities on the virtual land. Because what happened is Samsung also bought virtual land on Decentraland, which I think was a strategic move they did a few days ago as well, and that launched this at around a similar time as them putting the marketplaces on the TVs. So I was thinking, what are they up to really? Because it's quite interesting.
Samsung actually was the one of the first people to have a crypto wallet as well, built in, so an actual wallet within their phones. They just never promoted it. So just a heads up, they've been in the space for a long time.
Yeah, and Samsung. I bought a smart TV over 3 years ago. One of those, curved ones, so you feel like you have a cinematic experience at home. And it has like two or three different smart apps on it that I don't use at all. Even though I tried installing them, especially when pandemic happened. I was trying to figure out a way how to take, some of the things from the Television Academy and the PGA, some of the you know uh, links they were sending us to watch programming for both Emmys and for the PGA Awards, which is film and TV. We're trying to figure out how do I take that programming from my desktop or from my cell phone, and how do I transport it to my smart TV. And among those tries, I have the Amazon Fire Stick, I have the Google way of Google Chrome's broadcasting opportunity. And then I tried to use their particular apps, and they have two or three different smart apps. I can tell you that none of their apps worked, but just for that basic function. So if you look at the actual market, we're launching an OTT company out of Paris, and we really, really looked at the online OTT market and the CTV market, which is, through these devices. It is really astounding how that CTV market is really, it has not happened yet, even though we did have a pandemic and that was an opportunity to grow it. The streaming, just on mobile, on online, that took off. But the OTT, the CTV, the one that's actually using the devices to distribute that streaming to your television set or some other device, that market has not grown as much. And I think it has to do with the fact that hardware companies, which a lot of them are at CES, are not really, they have not cracked the code on dealing with consumers and aggregating those communities, which is what a lot of the people in the clubhouse have cracked the code on.
I think, yeah, there just is no shortcut for like Frank and Carlos and you've been saying, there's no shortcut for putting in the work in terms of building the community. And I think companies are rapidly finding that out, and I think that's why this kind of community building is going to be one of the hottest job categories in the next 2 or 3 years for sure.
Like, who doesn't have a job opening for a community manager who can manage Discord, Telegram, Twitter? Who doesn't have one of those job openings?
Everybody, except the few that are still cycling through their nieces and nephews, but everybody else.
Don't tell management that. They will totally assign that to the community manager.
But that's really what's going on, because what Andrew and Aaron did right first, to build their DAO, they were building that community. Tell us, you guys, we have a couple minutes left. What was the most challenging thing in building your community?
Man, you know, I don't want to say it was challenging, but the one thing was kind of, I would say, after the mint, when the community was built, was making sure we kept them excited, and then kind of figuring out how do we actually really keep this community, because at first the mint the excitement takes care of itself because everybody's excited about this new project that they truly believe is going to 100x. But then it's over, and then it's like, oh, what now? So like for us, it was, well, let's have an added utility in something that you can a crypto education, so something that people can feel like they're being a part of something, and they get to engage and ask questions, and there's stuff that's like anybody can be a part of, like our Discord, which has a daily topic. But then there's stuff like our Thursday mastermind and our monthly symposium that's exclusive to holders. So there's both. I'd say the post part, that's been the hardest, was, hey, how do we keep everybody excited post mint? And I would say leading up to mint, it wasn't hard, but it was hard work, man. Not gonna bullshit you guys. Aaron and I, we did Ask Me Anythings literally every night for 10 days leading up to it. And it would be live and get us on camera, and we'd show everybody what our plan was and let them open the floor for questions. And it was time consuming. I couldn't have did it without my girlfriend, man. Like, I was glued to my computer for 2 weeks, and I probably wouldn't have ate if I didn't have meals brought to me. So like, that was the hard part, the hard work, getting all those people on there. But then I think the fruit of it was that, yeah, they saw we were real people, and then they saw that, like, that we were going to carry through with this plan, and they didn't have to worry about being rug pulled. And 'cause we're very open if you look us up on the internet. So for me, those I'd say were our two hard things. I'm sure Aaron has some other input because he was doing all the real hard work on the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say honestly, before getting linked up with Andrew, I'd say it was pretty difficult just getting the initial community and the initial marketing started. I think that when you don't have much of like a resume in the space itself, or when you're just going to people and saying, "Hey, check out my project," and you have like zero followers on Twitter, starting from scratch, basically, it's tough starting from scratch. I think now what I know, maybe I would have done things a little bit differently from the launch to help that with that effort. But I would say just the initial marketing is always the most difficult. I think that's with any business. Just getting the initial marketing going and initial traction, people getting interested. I think that's the most difficult thing.
That's awesome. So my prediction for 2022 in this last minute is the first half of the year, the hottest job is going to be that community manager who can build a community. And the second half of the year is going to be that community manager that can manage the community, because manage the expectations, manage the engagement, manage the perception of what is being offered through this community. That is going to be just as challenging as, I would say, organizing it at the beginning.
And on that note as well, the CXO position is only going to keep on getting bigger. Chief Experience Officer is actually a huge position that's been growing over the last couple of years, so I could see it falling under there. Good point, Marion.
So a lot of interesting things to look forward to. Thank you guys for joining us today, Andrew and Aaron. Having a real world application of something that worked in the space. We love highlighting that. We'll invite you to present at our virtual Infiom Salon, which is next Wednesday. I'll back channel you. That's a Zoom, so you would be actually on our YouTube channel, presenting that. So we look forward to that. And I want to thank Carlos and Jeanette and Frank for joining us for this lovely discussion today. And we look forward to seeing all of you. Thank you for everyone in the audience. We're going to be back next week at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. We talk about, ask us anything about DAOs, DeFi, NFTs, and metaverses. And then on Wednesday, we talk about, again, how to create unicorns with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs. And hope, Andrew and Aaron, that your venture becomes that unicorn. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Good
much for
job.
having us.
Thanks
See
for
you soon.
coming. Bye.